But yeah, it's interesting because lately I've been getting a lot of calls from women in my life, and they've been calling me with situations. And I don't have all the answers, but I just like say like a quick prayer, like when they call me in my head.
Okay.
Like, God, please help me with what you need me to say, what message you need me to deliver. And then I'll sit back and listen to them, and I'll just try to give them wise counsel, and lately been getting a lot of calls from women with struggling with things that they're going through with men, and I'm just trying to give them like a very constructive, like positive perspective from a man, because with no intentions, I have no intentions, so I'm giving them something pure,
right?
That they can that can help them understand that man, and like, so I'll try to look at it from the man's angle as well, and try to, I'm just not jumping on their side, right? I'm like, okay, well, I see where you're coming from there, but also, think about this as well, from his perspective, and then as you talk to them, you start to see. They start to take some accountability, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I did do this. And I'm like, well, that's probably why he's thinking like this. Then, that's why he's, because I've been there. I've been in his shoes,
sure.
And I was like, well, maybe you should be a little more patient. Like, similar to what we're talking about right now. I had a conversation with a girl earlier this week. And it's like, yo, just give him some patience. Don't give him a deadline. Nobody likes that.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not trying to tell you to do. You can take my advice if you want, but I'm saying I just don't respond well to deadlines. I know that.
Or ultimatums.
Or ultimatums.
Women are always giving men ultimatums.
Wow.
Sure.
You better do this, or I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, right.
And then of course you're just immediately your defenses go up.
Yeah.
Your walls go up because she's just like. Yeah, putting you in a box and forcing you to...
it feels controlling.
Yeah, it is controlling.
Yeah.
Socialism. Like, really?
Yeah.
Nobody likes to be controlled, man.
No, absolutely not.
That's for sure, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
But it's called blind spots. So it's like you get another person's perspective because you can't see your own self. So it's smart for the woman to call you and to say, hey, I did this, here's whatever. And then you're like, okay, let me give you the male perspective. So then she could see differently and step out of herself and be like, oh, let me put myself in the man's shoes and get kind of where he's coming from and what his thinking is. Wow. And then she could adjust accordingly. So it's like wisdom tells you to get other people's perspectives and not just depend on your own or your own feelings or
better gents.
Yeah. Yep. And I agree with that. And they say of the two genders, men are more empathetic than women.
Wow.
Men tend to understand someone else's feelings more so than women. And I think that probably is true amongst young women. I think older women, they have that maturity and they have that wisdom where they can definitely understand, someone else's, point of view or feel what that other person is feeling. Young girls tend to lack empathy for whatever reason. I don't know why. I think they're more introspective when in their youth. It's more about how they feel rather than how someone else is feeling.
right.
I don't know if you think that's true or not, but
No, I've seen that. A lot of young women, teens or women in their 20s, like all they're caring about is like how they look for their selfies and like they're really self-consumed. And so they're not thinking about what this person's going through or feeling or whatever because they're just really caught up in themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
That's most of the time the problem with all of us, men and women, is we are so self-consumed. And it's like, if you can just get over yourself, and focus, on others, you can do so much more. You can help so much. But how do we, from what I'm hearing, is like, how do we teach, compassion to young men and women? Compassion, like that's really what they're missing. Is that empathy, that compassion, men and women. So that's a question that we have to ask ourselves as parents. Like, because if they're not going to understand compassion, if you're not compassionate
Right.
as a parent, so that's probably why they are not, compassionate.
It's very true.
I think a key is to maybe teach the children or whatever to think about why someone's doing what they do. 'Cause if you
What's your why?
Yeah, like if you just look at someone's actions, you immediately judge them and then you're offended and you come to your own conclusion. But if you can step back and be like, okay, if I see someone acting a certain way, let me ask myself, why are they acting like that? Like, did they have a really hard life? Were they abused by their parents? Were they, like there's a reason why they're acting out the way that they do. So if you ask yourself why, then it could put you in a position where you could be compassionate for that person, because now you know why they are the way they are and why they did what they did or said what they said. And it forces you to step outside of yourself and to, try to get to the root of what makes people do what they do.
Sure.
Or what they don't do,
Kind of like Miss Jones said, Catherine Jones, when she came on the show, she said about her daughter Nikki is like, her daughter said like, you don't know my struggles,
right?
And it's like, I think that's what's going on a lot of times is we don't understand their struggles, and we have to get to the root of why they act the way that they act. Put yourself in their shoes. From what I'm understanding off of what you just said.
Yeah.
That's a great way to handle it. I think one thing is we got the passion part right now. Like we got that part right now in America. Like, go do what you're passionate about, but we're missing the compassion. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we're missing, and we're lacking. So it's like we need to make people aware to that, aware of that. We need to be more compassionate.
I think a perfect example of that is if you ever saw the movie Crash back from the.
I have seen
that movie is just it's so powerful because it just showed you how one person having a bad day affected the next person, and then it just like showed you all the struggles of what they were going through personally inside their home or their family or their business, and how one action affected another family, and like one person was going through something and then robbed like I think the Arab store or something like that, and then that caused a ripple effect, and then so if we can see how we're all interconnected and how what we do, how it affects someone else, and it gives us compassion to be like, well, we all want the same things. We all want to be loved. We're all trying to take care of our families. We're all like doing the same thing instead of focusing on our differences. Like, oh, well, this Arabic family, this white cop guy who was acting like a jerk.
Yeah.
But then he's taking care of like a sick dad at home or something like that.
Yep.
And so you saw his struggle and his battle, and then the black couple that was being discriminated against. And so it just showed you like each person struggles with their ethnicity, their gender, and their own family like components and stuff.
But it kind of just takes one aware person to stop that domino effect.
Right.
Like David, what you did that one time when your bike got stolen.
Oh yeah.
So that guy, whoever stole your bike, they were in the wrong.
Yeah.
They could have ruined your day, your weekend, whatever, and you could have been pissed off about it. And then you could have, approached the workers or the manager of the hotel that you were staying at and been upset. And then, got irate with her or him and ruined their day. And then that could have rippled on to whatever they were doing. Maybe they went home and took it out on their significant other, but you stopped it at that point. You were like, all right, my bike got stolen. It's not this person's fault.
Right.
I'm going to report it. And, that's it. What else can I do? I'm going to show compassion and I'm going to be understanding. And that was where it ended. And that person showed gratitude to the fact that you didn't get overly upset over something that she had nothing to do with. So all it takes is one person in that cycle to stop that cycle. Right?
It can either be a ripple effect of negativity or it can be a ripple effect of positivity.
Exactly.
So that's what we're creating. And and I think we just got to shift our focus. Like, are we, focus on unity instead of division. So any thing that we're speaking about, if it divides us, that's not good. That we need to not focus on that. We need to focus on unity because, like you just said, Monica, we're all connected, and everything is going to affect us in one way or another. So like, because someone made you upset, they did something wrong to you. Now you want to talk about it. Now you're gonna bring someone else down with that, and then that they're by you venting, that's gonna bring them down until it gets to the person that's like, okay, strong enough to handle it, and they're like, they stop it. And they change that perspective. Just like the other day, my son, he's playing high school football over at Land O'Lakes High right now. He didn't get the ball thrown to him, but twice the last game. He was really upset. He's like, man, I told the coach, he throw the ball to me, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, I understand. I'm glad that you told him how you felt. That's good. But I was like, you can't let that, that thought ruin you, and get upset about it. Okay, you can tell the coach and communicate, but move on. I was like, did you guys win? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, he coached a good game. I was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys won. It was a blowout. You got to think outside of yourself. It's not about you, son. And I think so many times we get caught up in like how we feel, how I feel.
Right.
And it's like, but it's really about others. It's really not about you.
Right. Like the big picture. The
big picture is not about you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the quicker you realize that, the easier life is,
That's true.
I
know with my daughter, I always tell her, because if she gets out, like she'll hold a grudge forever. And I'm like, let it go. Really, like chill. Or maybe I shouldn't say your name. But anyway. But I just try to keep reinforcing to her to be like, okay, you have the power to not give people the power. And so you imagine yourself as you have this invisible little circle around you. And you're like, okay, I'm not letting other people get into my little personal circle. So they're not going to have the power to make me mad or to ruin my day or to offend me or, whatever. You just let those things go. If they say something, you just let it kind of roll off your back.
Okay. And
you just keep it moving and you don't give that person power. So you're like, I decide today when I wake up, I'm going to have an amazing day and I'm not going to let people's negativity or ignorance or whatever, I'm not going to let that ruin me because I'm not letting them in my personal circle.
Right. That's good advice.
So I try to keep reinforcing that. And I'm like, if everyone thinks that way, like, I'm not going to give you the power over me.
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta let people go.
Oh, that too.
Out of your circle.
You're like,
deuces.
Yeah.
And I think
you're not my assignment.
It's hard for a lot of people to do that.
You do have to let them go.
Well, because we get plugged in. We really care about someone and we want them to. We want the best for them, but sometimes they don't want the best for themselves.
Right.
And that's what really drags you down. Is like you're so plugged into wanting the best for them.
Yes.
And they don't see that.
Right.
So it's like you gotta like Chris said, you gotta let go, you gotta detach, you gotta unplug. And it might not, you might come back later, but the dynamics of that relationship change once you unplug.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, okay, now I take you, in doses now. I'm not, you had me. You won't, and we should never really plug into anybody. Really, we should, because our power source is God. So if we stay plugged into Him, like that source is sustainable. But when we plug into people, that's what wears us out, man. Because we're so flawed. Like we are so flawed. But the other thing is having a circle with different types of people, like we talk about, like on Better Gents, is like having different ethnicities and age groups and listening to children. But like we talked to Ruth the other day, and she was just opening up to us, telling us, like, and we're starting to see a perspective from a 15-year-old's view, of life. And it's like, okay, let me just be quiet and appreciate this right now, because she's telling me like all these hidden gems.
Yes.
She's giving us like the answers to what's going on in a 15-year-old girl's world. Let's just sit back and listen.
Sure.
Yeah, her perspective, we got a chance to grow.
Yeah, it's valid. I mean, that's how she feels, and that's how she sees the world. It's not like, we can dismiss that just because she's 15, right? So it's a very valid perspective. And I don't think a lot of older people really listen
No.
to the youth.
No,
right?
we need to listen to our kids more.
I think so.
You know, just sit down and listen to them talk. I'm not saying listen and let them tell you what to do.
Right.
But listen to their opinions. Let them have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let them have a perspective. But, you know, don't let them walk on you, of course.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, you got to understand that their point of view, it's gonna come from a limited experience, right? So, you know, understand that going into it. Listen, but don't change your own way of thinking.
Stay firm in what you know,
Right.
what you're doing. But the other thing is, like, a lot of parents, like, where are they getting their guidance? So they don't know what they stand firm in, and they just end up serving their kids. You know, their kid becomes their idol, and then that's you're in trouble then.
Sure.
You know, but also just having the different perspectives around you. A lot of people, from what I'm talking to, a lot of people, man, some people don't have a diverse circle. You know, like, they just have a lot of people that are like them. You know, if I'm a white male, I have a lot of white male friends that are 36 years old that you know, like Donald Trump. And, you know, I'm not saying I like Donald Trump. I'm just saying people that are, you know, that's their circle.
Yeah, it's an echo chamber.
You know what I'm saying?
They live in an echo chamber. Their ideas or their friends' ideas, and they never listen to any opposing ideas.
Yes.
You know? And if they hear an opposing idea, it's automatically, I don't want anything to do with that. You know,
Right.
I can never live that way.
No.
Right. If
there's no growth that way.
There isn't. But it makes people feel good. Right. And you can see it during major election years. Forget about it. That's where you see the opposing sides.
We got to stop getting tricked
in their echo chambers, and they're just so enthusiastic.
And they get everyone fired up.
Oh yeah.
Every 4 years, everyone's fired up. And then after the election's over, it's like it never happened.
Right.
No one even talks about, like, no one's fired up anymore about what they believed in so much.
Sure.
Right.
You know, it's like, really? But that's what I really appreciate about this platform is, like, we are bringing something to people that they don't have in their everyday life. Is just this just multiple perspectives.
Oh yeah.
You know, multiple perspectives from so many different people and walks of life. You know.
So I guess your goal would be to influence people to step outside of themselves and encourage them to be like, oh, go find a friend, go befriend a person that is not your color or not your age, and see what you can glean and learn from them. It's like you take the good and you throw out the bad. And so it's like, if people have that perspective to be like, okay, let me get out of my little white male friend group who might have like beer bellies or whatever.
Yeah, right on.
I'm just
I got you. I got a little jab there.
And
where's the sound effects?
let me go befriend like a Mexican guy, you know, who's like working hard for his family, whatever, and then you could just learn from them.
Yeah, you're gonna get a different perspective.
It's so awesome. Like, something like,
get outside your comfort zone.
So some of my, like, two of my best friends I was talking to, you know, the other day, you know, Miss Jones. You know, I get off the phone with her. We talk for an hour, and then Janine calls me. I talk to Janine for 2 hours. You know, these are 60 something year old black women. You know, like, but I love learning from them because they're so wise.
Right.
You know, and it's like I'm just saying, like, it's just the people, you know, like you said, like we're talking about, like, it's not someone that looks like you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? They see the world different because people look at them different.
Yes.
You know, so it's like, it's awesome to hear their perspective and learn from them.
Right.
You know, it's like, man, we got to stop putting so much emphasis on what someone looks like, and we got to stop letting society say, "Oh man, society says this. Society says." Who cares? What do you say? You know what I'm saying? Let's stop blaming society. You know, let's just take accountability and change it yourself. You know, just change it yourself. Stop doing it. Don't do it. You don't have to do it. You know?
Yeah, very true. Very true. Good points.
Yeah, great points. Man,
I think about like relationships. One thing that I always ask myself is, the few relationships that I have in my life, I examine them and I ask myself, Monica, are these mutually beneficial relationships? Are you the one giving all and caring all and being all and doing all, and you're so invested and you're giving it like your 100%, and the other person's not calling you, texting you, making plans with you. So then I'm like, are they enriching my life? So then when I look at it that way, I'm like, well, no, it's pretty one-sided. Then I let go of those that aren't mutually beneficial. Because I'm like, okay, I should be enriching someone's life and they should be giving back to me so we could enrich each other and grow together and not. So anyway, so I'm just like, it's a great piece of advice in any relationship, whether it's romantic or, platonic, whatever it is, to ask yourself, is this person enriching my life? Are they giving back? Are they putting in the effort as well? Am I benefiting from our connection? And if it's no, then you just have to let those relationships go, no matter how long you've had them.
Yeah.
But people like get stuck with to be like, oh, well, this has been my childhood friend since we were 12. So we have to always. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
If that person's not giving anything back to you, then it's time to let that go.
That seems to be a common theme with a lot of women these days in relationships. They give so much of themselves. And it's not reciprocated is what I'm hearing. That's not a good thing. Oh, and what is it about the men that they're finding that don't want to reciprocate, with great women who they work hard, they're educated, they are financially successful and independent. And so when they get into a relationship with a guy, they expect at least an equal reciprocation. They don't get it. Well, why is that happening so often?
From my personal experience, it's happened to me a few times. And I just realized, the person's not emotionally available. And so I could be amazing and whatever, but if they're not emotionally available and their heart isn't open to actually be in a serious committed relationship, then that's why they're not giving back to this woman that just keeps pouring because he's not available. Or she doesn't do it for him. Because if he finds the right woman that he really is into, then he is going to do all those things. And so it's just a sign to be like, well, he's just not that into you. And if he's not that into you, then you let him go, because you'll find someone else that is eventually. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you think it's, it's not the right woman, but a lot of times it's like, you're not the right man, or vice versa. It works both ways, right? But another teaching emotional awareness, Mercedes, that was so great. A couple weeks ago, she came on the show, and that's what she does for children. She teaches emotional awareness.
Oh, that's good.
And that's something that she teaches to the soul. She says, that's she wants kids to be more aware. So that when they grow up, they will be emotionally available. And but once you're aware of it, so we are growing, and we got people like Mercedes out there that's doing that. I know she's going to open a school. That's one of her dreams. I know that's going to happen eventually. But, when you were speaking about these great women, yes. Some of the things you said they have great jobs. They have what else? Educated. But there's a third part, that I wanted to say was like that spirit, man. Like, so for me, man, like I'm learning, that spiritual side is so important to me, because that's the sustainability, because that stuff's great and that'll get you far. Right. But at some point, man, you're going to need that woman with that faith, that woman to pray over you, to pray over your children, pray over your family, to bounce off, the word with and grow with, so I think the spiritual side is what a lot of people are missing from men and women,
right?
Because that's another thing, like the man, as well. So these women that might say, for instance, that they think that they're loyal, they're doing everything right, but what does your spirit look like? What's your faith like? Because when that man's spirit is down, who's picking him up? And so he's turned into spirit. He's turned into false spirit. He's turning into alcohol to pick him up, because you're not picking his spirits up.
That's a good point. And from a non-spiritual perspective, I would think I could see the equivalent being, or somewhat equivalent would be compassion. Right? If you're not a spiritual person, then at least be a compassionate one, right? And add that to your repertoire as a great woman, right? Intelligence, hardworking, and be compassionate.
Wow.
Maybe
Maybe you're not as great as you think you are.
Yeah.
So
Most
that's
of us
another
aren't.
thing. Yeah.
Most of us
that's
aren't.
for
Also, it's
real.
like, how do you teach compassion? Because, I mean, you could teach people to be like, well, this is what you should look for and all that, but some people just don't have a good heart.
Check this out.
They're not good people. And so you can't teach them to be good people. It's either someone has a good heart where they're compassionate or they don't. Like, some people just don't care about other people.
Sure.
How do you teach it? You say, like, I say actions. So just imagine that, imagine we had a, I don't know, 5-6-year-old, any age of children with us today. When we picked up that raccoon, they would see that action, and that's memorable. So that's what it is. Like, they're not seeing the action of compassion from their parents. So that's what it is. We spoke about this, and we've been gathering all this knowledge throughout all the months from talking to different guests, and really, that's what it is. It's action. Because kids, you could talk to a kid till you're blue in the face, but they watch us.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're observing. So if they see us pick up a raccoon and take him to a raccoon that everybody else was driving by, and bring him to that animal hospital, that would change their life.
True.
That automatically that child would do the same, because we do what we see. A coach that I love very dearly, Jeremiah Putney, that I coached with at Chamberlain. He was a young man. He passed away about a month ago. A lot of the things that he did were very, very compassionate. And when he passed away, man, there was kids up there talking about things that this man did for them, where he put money in their pockets or did something for their family. Like, and no one knew about these things, but these kids came up and shared it. So that's what they remember. So guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna go out and do the same thing that Coach Putney did for them.
Yeah, because compassion is just caring in action.
Yes.
So a lot of people will be empathetic or sympathetic to be like, oh, I feel so bad, I feel so sorry, but they don't do anything. It just stops there.
Yeah.
But compassion is the next step where you're like, I care, and so it moves me to action. So that's what compassion is.
Yes, I like that.
And if they do see that model, then they will
Caring
do that
in action.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's good.
Just like the Starbucks drive-through, I love to do this all the time, and I'm not trying to boast on myself, but I just love to bless the person behind me.
That's awesome.
And then I see a chain reaction where I'm like, oh, let me pay for the person behind me, and then it makes their day, and then they in turn go and pay for the person behind them. So it's that same domino effect that
positive
you were talking
positive
about.
ripple. Here it is.
It's the positive ripple, because one person does it, and so they're like, oh, I didn't have to spend my little $10, so I'm gonna bless the person behind me.
Wow.
And so it's like that compassion where it's like your actions are causing other people to change their actions for the good as well.
Right.
Yo, you just inspired me. Like, I haven't done that before, so now I'm going to do that. See what I'm saying? You planted that seed. Now all we got to do is go water it.
And what I do is, when I do that, I drive off as fast as possible because I want to bless them and run, not for them to stop me and be like, oh, thank you. I'm like, no. I just want to do it, be a secret agent and just bless them and hurry up and get out of there. And they'll just be like,
agent. I like that.
You don't need the recognition for the good thing.
I don't want them to stop and be like, oh, thank you.
But look at as we speak about this awesome stuff, it's so edifying, opposed to the other way.
Yes.
It's so draining.
Yeah,
it is. Talking about the negative is very draining.
Yeah, focus. You're focused on that.
Yeah.
When you're focused on that, it brings everybody down.
Absolutely.
Like when you're focused on the higher stuff, taking the higher road. It's just so edifying.
Yeah.
So amazing.
People like it. People like to hear the negative. They like to hear the horror stories, and they tune in, and then that's what they subscribe to, is the negative.
We do it to ourselves.
We do.
But we could change that.
Yeah.
Like when someone comes to me with negativity or gossip, and they're like, "Oh, Monica, did you hear what so and so?" And I'm like, stop. I'm like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't participate in gossip. I don't want to hear about what's going on with them. And I just shut it down, and they'll get all offended because they wanted to share all their juicy negativity with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, not having it.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want those things polluting my mind, because I don't want someone else to help me form my opinion or thoughts about another person.
Right.
So I'm like, don't tell me anything unless I interact with that person for myself and form my own feelings. things, I don't want to hear anything that you have to say that's going to jade me.
Yeah.
And so if people would be like, if they can make an effort to be like, okay, anytime some negativity is coming, just stop it. Because then it's going to get all over you. It's like they throw up their garbage on you, and then that affects you. And then you have that domino effect of the negativity.
Yeah, protect yourself, guard your heart,
guard yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You can catch all of our episodes on YouTube and Spotify at Better Gents Podcast, and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Better Gents Pod. Thank you and take care.